Flamingos tell you that I am here with their bright colors. You notice them immediately. These birds are famous for both their structure and behavior. This video is the second part about flamingos. We recommend that you also watch the first video to get to know them. There we mainly explain the colors of flamingos. Now we will talk about their other features and lifestyles. So let's continue. How do they manage to survive in these toxic waters? This is our basic question. Except for some freshwater areas where flamingos live, they generally live in lakes and wetlands that contain very high amounts of salt and alkali. Many water areas are highly toxic and dangerous to other animals. If you enter such water, your skin will burn immediately. For example, Lake Natron in Tanzania consists of very salty and toxic algae. About 3 million pink flamingos live in this lake. So how do they survive? Let's talk about this in a few different topics now. The diet of flamingos is not only dependent on climate. At the same time, body structure has important functions. Flamingos have different beak structures. For example, the Puna flamingo in Peru, Chile, Bolivia, and northwestern Argentina is deep-billed. They mostly feed on algae and plankton. The Caribbean flamingo, which lives further north, has a long and shallow beak. It feeds mostly on insects, shrimp, invertebrates, small fish, and small crabs. These birds first stir the bottom of the water with their feet to eat. Then, by sticking their large beaks into water or mud, they pick up the exposed algae and other small creatures. They feed upside down. Their beaks can move 10 times as fast as the human jaw. Their upper beaks allow them to pick up water properly and filter it through a thin, hair-like layer. Their lower beaks are stronger and can move independently. Their beaks filter the toxic water by constantly pumping them with the help of their tongue. Not all flamingo species can do the same filtering ability. For example, the Puna flamingo's ability to filter algae is more developed. However, the Caribbean flamingo is able to filter larger creatures. That's why they are darker pink in color. However, as the diet of birds in captivity changes, their colors may also change. That's why flamingos in zoos are white and lighter pink and orange colors. So what do these birds drink while living in such salty and toxic waters? Salt water, but the water that has been desalinated. Yes, they also drink water by filtering it. Small salt glands in their heads allow them to do this. They decompose the water. They expel salt water back into their nostrils. They also drink the remaining fresh water. Some species live not only in salt water, but also in water with hot spring temperatures. And they can drink this water. On the contrary, some species can live even in cold waters at freezing temperatures. When the water freezes completely and prevents them from feeding, they migrate to warmer places. Incredible, isn't it? You may probably be wondering why these birds' knees are upside down. However, this reverse protrusion you see is not actually a knee. This is the bird's wrist. Yes, it's this length from ankle to toe. The knee part of the bird is not visible because it is behind its feathers. This is a situation seen in many bird species. For example, ostriches with huge feet have such legs. Flamingos have long, thin legs. At first glance, they may look like they are about to break. However, these legs are quite strong. There are hard nail-like scales on the legs, but they are flexible like those of reptiles. This armor protects the legs from toxic substances in the water and from very hot and very cold water. Why do flamingos sleep standing up? They sleep standing up because toxic water can damage their upper bodies. That's why they develop the ability to sleep standing up. The hard scaly structure of their legs and beak are not affected by toxic water. So why do they stand on one leg? The research results on this subject are quite interesting. Their leg forms are such that they can stand steadily on one leg while sleeping. The legs are such that they can stand without using any muscles. Even a dead flamingo can stand on one leg, because the leg joints can be easily locked. Live flamingos expend almost no energy when standing on one leg. So why do they do this if their legs don't expend energy? The reason for this is not known for certain. However, there are various theories. One theory is that this helps regulate body temperature. Another theory is that while they sleep, one side of their brain works, and the other rests. The lifted leg is in the resting part of the brain. Flamingos live together in large groups in the form of colonies. In some places, they can number in the millions. Their preference for deserted areas, the toxicity of the waters they inhabit, and their superiority in numbers protect them from predators. They can adapt to harsh living conditions. Drying of lagoons and lakes is the most important threat to them. They are also endangered by human hunting and urbanization. These vulnerable birds prefer to fly at night. They make a goose-like horn sound. Flamingos are generally monogamous. However, it can occur in nests consisting of 2 females and 1 male or 2 males and 1 female. Relationships in these situations can be combative or peaceful. Matings between pairs also occur frequently. These birds can breed both within themselves and as crossbreeds with other species. Flamingos court each other to find a mate or for their existing mate. Their courtship dance is quite rhythmic. Males usually initiate the dance, but females lead it. The dance begins with a movement called the wing salute. Birds stretch their wings, hold their heads up, and give their message. Then they all start a movement called walking together. They all revolve around each other in a certain order. Meanwhile, they call out to each other. They go back and forth quickly and noisily. Meanwhile, they also make a movement called head shaking. They do all this together rhythmically. This dance performed by thousands of flamingo birds together is truly fascinating. Flamingos like to live in groups. They become intertwined during breeding periods. They choose more isolated areas to breed. Birds may not breed every year. They do not reproduce, especially when food is very scarce. A group of flamingos often begins courting and mating at the same time. They spawn in May and August. The female bird lays 1 egg at a time. It lays its eggs in mounds made of mud. Pairs take turns incubating. The eggs hatch after a month. The cub is born a pale white or gray color. Parents recognize their offspring by their appearance and voice. Flamingo chicks are fed only crop milk for about 2 months. Flamingo milk is bright red. This milk is very different from mammal milk. They produce it in the digestive tract. They vomit this to feed the baby. Both parents feed the offspring. Hatchlings can fly after about 100 days. The young leave the nest to find a new community. Cubs gradually change color over the years. It can take years for a flamingo to become completely pink. Cubs reach adulthood between 2 and 5 years. While they live 20 to 30 years in the wild, they can survive up to 60 years in zoos. The oldest flamingo on record lived to be up to 80 years. Factors such as drought, human hunting, and urbanization threaten the populations of these birds. For this reason, some species are under protection. There are only 6 living species of flamingos. This family is called Phaenicopteridae, that is, Flamingoidae. Flamingo is the common name of these 6 birds. A group of flamingos is called a flamboyans. The word flamingo comes from the Portuguese word flamengo. Its meaning is flame-colored. The word flamengo may be based on Provençal flamenc. As a result, the word consists of the Latin flam flamma, meaning flame, and the Germanic ing suffix. Phaenicopteridae is a Latin word meaning flame bird. If you like the video, you can subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss new videos.